Good morning, good afternoon. Yes, welcome to another edition of the Mark Mosey Show podcast. As we are broadcasting here from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Give them a call today, 1-800-747-3733. That's Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Also want to give a shout out to Chumley's Depot in downtown Melbourne where friends meet. Don't forget, tonight is comedy night there at Chumley's Depot and Walk On Sports Bistreaux in Vieira, home of the $5 Tito's and $4 22-ounce Busch Lights. All day, every day at Walk On Sports Bistreaux in Vieira. Let's bring on this fine gentleman. Does a great job in the broadcasting field. Good friend of mine there in Atlanta, the ATL. He is Luke Hetrick. Luke, how you doing today?
You had me at $5 Tito's. I'm good, Mark. This is long overdue, man. Thank you for having me on. I'm good. This is the best time of the year. We got a draft. We're getting full swing into baseball. Football talk. Not that much football being played, but football talk is always fun. It's a great time of the year. Here's
what's interesting. You're there in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
You used to work in Orlando. So you're in Atlanta. I see you covering the Braves at the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
You're breaking down the Atlanta Hawks. Then all of a sudden the other day, you're in some Orlando Magic shirt. The brand new logo. Explain. How? Buddy?
Luke Hetrick, and I very rarely refer to myself in the third person, but Luke Hetrick knows how to scheme to get an Orlando Magic shirt. No. It was on assignment, and I was in Atlanta, and Magic Center Wendell Carter Jr., an Atlanta native, was having his annual camp through his A Platform Squared Foundation. Went up there, did a little interview with him, focused on the camp, focused on all of his, outside of basketball pursuits throughout his career. And I just happened to look at the end of the interview, saw a new logo, and I was like, what do you think of the logo? And he's like, fire, love them, love the logo. And we're talking about the jerseys and everything. And he saw me looking at it, and he wasn't going to say it. But then his manager came up to me and was like, grab a few.
Grab a few.
I was like, okay. So I'm with my photographer, and I grabbed my size, and I was like, what do you need? And I was like, I'll just grab it. He's like, 2X. And I'm not outing him for his size, but he wears bigger. He likes it looser fitting. He's a bigger guy. I was like, all right. I was like, they don't have 2X. And he's like, how do they not have 2X? And I'm like, keep your voice down. We're getting the new logo. That's 2 days old. We're getting it for nothing. Let's bring the energy down. Let's be cool about this. We'll stretch it out, do what we got to do. But the shirt fits great. I love the logo. I don't know how much time we have on StreamYard. I could talk about my breakdown of the jerseys and everything for days, but I know that's not your priority for having me on.
No, all right. You want to do this? All right. And don't worry. I paid for the super professional version of this StreamYard. We can go as long as we want. Okay. It wasn't cheap. All right. Do I have it? Now you put me on the spot here. All right. I'm going to be producer as well. Can I bring it up? All right. First off, here's what we got. Okay. Let's bring this up here.
Okay.
So you approve of the logo.
I do. At first, it catches the eye a little bit off because Orlando is obviously going around, not as centered. So it kind of catches you off guard. But outside of that, I really like it. What do you think?
It's going forward in time. We're looking to the future with the Orlando. It is. Because Luke, what's funny is the original logo pretty much kind of looks like this.
It's very similar.
It's similar. All right, I have one more for you. Since you wanted to do this, you put me on the spot.
I did.
Here we go. It's okay. I can bring this up.
You can do this.
I could do this.
Yeah.
All right. Which do you like of the three?
Which do you think I like the most?
The middle one.
The middle one. And I know I'm in the minority. I know that's the controversial one where people are on different ends of the spectrum. I like the middle one because all I think of is Shaq warm up. I think of the warm ups, and that's what gets me. I like the other ones, but I just think this one's different. The other two are similar to what we've seen. So, for me, I'm like, oh, it's cool. But the middle one, it's a unique look. Now, what's going to be cool is how these blend into the City Edition. Once the City Edition jerseys drop, later this year, that's going to be unique to see.
I like the blue one the best because that makes me think of 90s Shaq and Penny.
Yeah.
That's what I like. I like that the best. Now, when you're covering the Atlanta Hawks, are you going to be wearing? Are you going to be wearing this? No,
Absolutely not. They are well aware of that. I will not be. People within the Hawks organization have been fantastic to work with. They know I worked in Orlando. They know when I'm in that building, it is all about Hawks, which I will be later tonight for the draft. It'll be all about Hawks. So it's going to be a fun night. They already had a little bit of fun, though, ahead of time. They kind of spoiled their own party, had it early with the trade yesterday.
Oh, they did. We'll get to that one second.
Yeah.
I just want to say this. Wendell Carter Jr. is a super nice guy. Always love talking to him. My thing with him, when you talk to him and Franz and Paulo, my arm starts getting tired from how tall they are. Because you're trying to keep the mic at their mouth. Do you have this problem when you're interviewing these men?
So I don't have a problem. The only problem I have is when I end up holding multiple microphones. Because, like everyone, some people are in there with the camera and they have a microphone. So typically, if you have a photographer working with you and you're the one, hey, setting up with the camera and you're just asking the questions, a lot of times you try and do the respectable thing and grab a mic from another outlet just to help them out, just so they can focus on shooting and not doing the back and forth. So when I'm holding like 3 mics in one hand, but making sure my logo is front and center and like angling it, and then you're stretched up here and you're getting a shoulder and a delt workout, front shoulder, everything. It's just, that's when it gets taxing.
You watch these guys on TV and you're like, oh yeah, 6'8", 6'10", yeah. When you stand by these guys, is that the moment for you? And you're a tall guy yourself, but is that the moment like, oh yeah, these guys are for real. These guys are big out there.
I mean, they're when you're around it the first time you see it, you're a little starstruck. You're a little bit, oh, wow. But we also had a good warm-up in Orlando dealing with Taco Fall. So everyone is really short compared to him. But having said that, I think when I was the most, taken aback was I got to interview Shaq. And I have seen people 7'1", 7'2", but not at that size. And not the mass that Shaq is. And he's obviously a big personality. But when I was by him, I was like, this is an intimidating figure. Now he's happy and smiling and cracking jokes. But that's the moment I was like, this is different.
Yeah, here's the thing. All right, they're 7 feet tall. You're standing by them. They haven't jumped yet. That's the other thing that I try to process. I had that moment with, this is a random player, Bam Adebayo.
Yeah.
He put his arms up. You're like, well, I'm not getting any rebounds tonight. No. And that's why TJ McConnell on the Pacers, amazing. How that guy's running around.
Look, let me tell you, TJ McConnell is a savior in the state of Pennsylvania. Graduated the same year I did, averaged 34 a game his senior year in high school, and was a 3-point marksman. He was a sharpshooter. And now you see him in the NBA, they're playing off of him completely. So the fact that dude has had that career, and his cousin, head coach at St. Francis University, Luke McConnell, shout out to him, shout out to the Red Flash. But McConnell, unbelievable playoff run, incredible in the finals. Hot take here. If they would have won Game 7 and he would have scored 20+, you had an argument for him winning finals MVP. It probably goes to Siakam, but you have an argument for TJ McConnell.
You don't think Haliburton? You think it would have been McConnell?
I think it would have been hard if Haliburton doesn't play Game 7, or gets injured. I think it could have happened, but McConnell had played so many strong spot minutes throughout that series and extended minutes, specifically in Game 6 and even I believe it was Game 4 or 5. He had a lot of minutes and he willed them back into a game. I think it was Game 5 where they were down a significant portion, got it back to 2. So it could have been him, but an unbelievable playoff run from him by Indiana, and just a great NBA Finals in general. I loved every minute of that.
And you talk about the NBA draft, undrafted TJ McConnell.
Undrafted.
And he's going to play for 12 years in the NBA. Here's my question for you, and I'm asking this to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I commend Haliburton for giving it his all.
Yeah.
And I know he's out. I think it was the right thing to do. I give him all the credit in the world. What is your thoughts on him playing? And then now he's going to be out maybe for a year now.
What's the reaction if he sits out? That's my question to everyone. What are you saying if he sits out? From a if we're looking at this in terms of pure legacy, then he makes the right decision because he has incredible respect now from everyone that you left it all out there. You understood the risks, that this was the worst thing that could have happened, and it did happen. But if it doesn't, and you're able to get through it, you might help your team win a championship. And if that is your goal, and I think there's a fine line now in the NBA, and I think guys straddle this. There's a difference between legacy and reputation and what your finances are. If you focus on your legacy and helping your team and being the best player that you can be, the money's going to come. That's going to get taken care of. But if Haliburton says, you know what, it's better for my long-term investment. It's better for the next contract that I'm going to get if I stay healthy. Well, there's no guarantees Indiana has another run like this. They very well could have lost that series in 6 games, instead of 7, and him playing into a 7. And who knows if they're able to duplicate this? Who knows if the rest of the East surpasses them? People could figure out the blueprint on Indiana. I don't think that's the case. I think they're always going to be a factor if he's healthy, given who they have around him right now. But this is your best shot as a championship. We're not talking about a Lakers. We're not talking about a Celtics who get there every few years. Indiana has not been to the finals in 25 years. This is a great organization in a smaller market that makes smart, savvy decisions. I always look at Indiana saying they give themselves a chance to have a chance. And this year they did that, and they were so close, and everyone would have dogged on him had he sat out. But it was the right decision in terms of legacy and how people will view Tyrese Haliburton moving forward.
It's a great point. When I look back at this season, like if we talk in 20 years and you go, Mark, what will you remember? And I said this the other day, I'm going to say it to you. Number one, the insane Luka trade is number one to me.
Yes.
That's the number one thing. Number 2, the Haliburton injury in Game 7. Number 3, Oklahoma City survived the Pacers and won the title. In that order. What's your order?
See, the Luka trade just from pure shock value, and then how this has impacted the way other trades are viewed around the league, because every time you see something with Kevin Durant or Desmond Bane or some decision that gets made and you see the compensation, it's, well, look what they gave up to get Luka. Like, that doesn't happen. That's an anomaly. And it's so far out there. They did not let Luka go to market. They did not put it out there at all. So the way it was handled, the compensation package for him is just such an outlier. So for me in shock value, I would say that probably is one, but it could change based on how he performs in LA. What was just more authentic and fun to me was Haliburton's, not so much the injury, but just the run. Just Tyrese Haliburton in the playoffs, a game winner in every single series. Plays on a calf injury. He's basically rendered useless in Game 5. Plays gutsy and heroic in Game 6 in the 20 minutes that he did get in, and the rest of his team lifted him up so he could rest. And then the start he was having to Game 7. I did 2 videos on this the other day. 2 things can be true at the same time. Oklahoma City was the best team from start to finish. They deserved to win that title. This was a long time coming for the fans. Sam Presti is not just one of the best general managers in basketball, but all of sports. And you see the moves that he's made, and it finally pays off. Everyone was giving him flack years ago for the Paul George trade, and they get in return the future MVP and a ton of supplemental picks that just helped them win a title. So he is one of the smartest men in all of sports in terms of roster management, decision-making. And you look at all that and you can still say yes, but there's a giant what if with the Haliburton injury. And it doesn't mean your title comes with an asterisk. It doesn't mean that it's any less. It just means people are going to sit there, and it's the reality of the situation. It is no disrespect to Oklahoma City. People are going to go, what if he didn't get hurt? Because there's not that satisfaction. It doesn't erase any doubt, because you can always sit there and go, if he played, Indiana might be winning a championship. And that's just really unfortunate for both sides, especially for Oklahoma City, but it's just the reality of the situation.
What was funny in that second half was Oklahoma City didn't play great either. No. SGA didn't play great. He went, 8 for 25?
Yeah.
But the 12 assists, 1 turnover were huge for the MVP.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
you could tell Oklahoma City, they don't know how to win or close yet. But now they do. This was funny. They could become, I know we've had 7 champions in 7 years, but they could play better. They understand, all right, now we know how to win. We have all of our guys back. We still have 50 picks from all these trades.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma City can win again and again. I think they have a chance here now.
They have a chance. I don't think it's a slam dunk guarantee. I think they're going to be making some moves. I think probably you're going to see Cason Wallace take over for Lou Dort. What do they do with Hartenstein, who was, I think at times in the finals, based on the matchup, a little bit of a liability with how he had to guard Siakam and Miles Turner and, what Indiana was doing with him off the pick and roll. But there's going to be decisions that they make. I trust Sam Presti to make those correct decisions. You have the guys that you build with for the future. If you want to call it a big three, with Shea, J-Dub, and Chet. So there's a chance. But we also have to look at the fact that they went 7 games with a banged-up Denver Nuggets team. And, yes, Shea's the MVP, and he deserves all praise. Jokic is the best player in the league right now. And I don't see that changing anytime. And you're going to have to continue to go through him. But on the other side of it, if you are able to get out of the West, which I think Oklahoma City can do, moving forward in a 5-year window a couple times, the East for the foreseeable future is a much bigger question mark. It is no longer Boston and then who else. It now becomes wide open. And that's going to be a really interesting thing. And that's why I think you've seen the moves that get made. But again, with Oklahoma City, you're looking at an ever-changing landscape out west. Denver's going to be there. Who knows what the Lakers turn out to be? Year 2, JJ Luka, what that turns into. Kevin Durant now with Houston. I mean, there are so many moving parts here that it is really hard to win out west consistently. And so I think there's a chance, but it's not a guarantee.
Let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks then, Mr. Luke Hetrick, the team you cover now there in Atlanta. They got Porzingis last night. And by the way, we were talking earlier about tall people. Dude, when the Celtics took on the Magic, so you know that Luke knows this. So what you do is there's a private entrance you go through for the media through the Kia Center. And what you do is to get to the court, you go behind the scenes and then you go by the visiting locker room. So I'm there. I'm there 2 minutes before tip-off. This was like game 4, I think, of round 1. I walk by Scalabrine, who's one of the assistants. Scalabrine's a big dude. Porzingis, the door opened. It was like out of a movie. The door opened. I don't think he saw me, like how tall he is. Dude, I can't believe how big he is in person. And he is a monster, and he's going to the Atlanta Hawks. What do you think of this trade for the Hawks to get Porzingis?
I think people initially are going, this doesn't make any sense. Why are they doing this? People like to look at it as you have Trae Young and then who's your next star? And Porzingis isn't really the name that moves the needle, like he did 4 or 5 years ago, but he's still a great piece. And what I like about Atlanta in this situation is they get him on an expiring contract. They get him relatively cheap, and they add depth to their front court. Clint Capella's headed to free agency. It's likely that he's not coming back. Jalen Johnson, who's their rising star. And for so many years, it's been Trae plus who. We tried it with John Collins, tried it with DeJounte Murray. Now it seems to be Jalen Johnson, but you don't know what he's going to be like after signing a huge extension and then having a shoulder injury that ended his season. So there's a question mark there. So you add Porzingis. There's obviously a health risk that comes with him, but you can say, we'll kick the tires with this. We'll give it a shot. He's a really good pick and pop complementary player with Trae Young. So I think that's probably what has them most excited about making a deal like this. But again, if it doesn't work and Atlanta is hovering around the play-in for another season, this could be a guy that you move again, that you get some pieces in return, that you trade to a contender, whoever that may be. And then you make decisions of, do you continue to move forward building with Trae Young as your centerpiece? But for the here and now, I like the move. There's a ton of upside to it, but obviously there's certainly risk involved.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who was the number 1 pick last year to the Hawks? Who?
Zachary Risache.
Okay, what's interesting is you didn't bring him up in what you just said. I like, where does he fit on this? He was the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, and I think Zachary Risache is a guy that probably let's say if he's in the Palo draft or the Wembanyama draft or even this draft, he's probably more of a 5 through 8 type prospect. So the fact that he's obviously going to have number 1 attention, the expectations of coming with a number 1 pick are massive no matter what year it is. But Risache improved. It was an all-rookie selection, did not win Rookie of the Year, but was a guy that you saw take the necessary steps along the way. I thought he got a lot more comfortable running in transition, spotting up for his threes. Defensively is where he's going to have to grow the most. Quinn Snyder's done a really good job with him. And I think what Quinn did was allow him to be assertive this year. And there were moments that you really saw that step get taken forward. I don't think Zachary Risache is going to be a guy that averages 25 to 27 at the NBA. That's just not who he's going to be, in my opinion, right now. But he's a guy that if you can get him to average somewhere between 16 and 20 over the next couple of years, that's a really good piece to have. That's really valuable consistency running the wing with Trae Young or whoever you're building your team around over the next 5 years or so.
What pick does Atlanta have tonight?
They have 13. They did have 22, but because of the Porzingis trade, that now goes Terrence Mann and that 22nd pick to the Nets.
Will Walter Clayton Jr. from Florida be available at 13? Do you think? Because Magic fans are like, oh, he'll be there at 25. No, he's not.
I do think he'll be there at 13. I think there's a chance that he'll be there at 13. And now Atlanta becomes more of a place where you can get that other playmaking guard because Trae Young's, when the Hawks' efficiency with him off the floor was putrid last year. I mean, it was really bad. And that you look at the organization and say, well, you kind of build everything around this one guy. And yeah, Jalen Johnson got hurt and everything. And they made deals at the deadline. They kind of overhauled things, getting DeAndre Hunter out of town, sending him to Cleveland, getting a haul in return. But they need another playmaking guard. They tried it a couple years ago with Kobe Buffkin. He's been injured. It just hasn't worked. He hasn't gotten his reps yet. I don't know I think to me, this seems like they know what he is and what he isn't at this point. So you're probably looking at some version of, and I'm going to say the name wrong, Yakachunas from Illinois could be there in play. You have a Walter Clayton. Probably to me now, the most likely guy is Igor Denham from BYU. But they could also go with their front court. Like I said, there's risk with Porzingis. They're going to lose Clint Capella. So maybe you go with a big guy, Derek Queen from Maryland's, a guy that's kind of up and down on people's draft boards. I've seen him in the top 10, seen him mocked late in the first round. But as far as Walter Clayton goes, I think he could be there at 13. I don't know if he gets past 22. I don't think he falls that far. But I think the Magic could still get great value with that 25th pick. Not some guy that's going to come in and average 15 in a rookie season, but someone that you could ring the towel a little bit more with. And I think you've seen the prototypes that they've gone with under Jeff Weltman. A 6'8" wing that has been pretty consistent for them. And I think they'll probably take a chance on a true shooter. Jace Richardson's a guy that I think could be in play there at 25. Derek Queen potentially as well. So there's names there. Walter Clayton obviously would be the high end, would check all the boxes and make the fan base most happy.
I just want you to know, we all know Cooper Flagg is going number 1.
Yes.
I think some of these other teams should just start booing like crazy when the pick is made. Like if you're Utah, Brooklyn, some of these other teams like, what? The 30 for 30 on the Luka trade is going to be incredible to watch. It's going to be incredible. Why?
We haven't had a great 30 for 30 in a while either. No. That's another thing.
We haven't. Well, when you have The Last Dance, it's hard to top that for a 30 for 30.
We're also going to be locked in on him on NBC. Jordan on NBC coverage now.
I can't wait.
In. Anyway, but the Luka trade, yes. I mean, look, the conspiracy theories are out there, sure. I don't buy into it at all, but I get it. Like, what you're telling teams now with all these restrictions, with first and second aprons, the way you have to win is now basically by tanking. I mean, that you're really leaving teams with no other options. So if you are a Charlotte, Washington, Utah, I mean, it's still a gamble. I mean, look what the Magic did a few years ago. At the trade deadline, they sold the farm. They knew they were going to be bad, and they ended up with 5 and 8. And they've turned those picks into Franz Wagner, who's a borderline all-star every year, and Jalen Suggs, when he's healthy, is the motor for that team. But all I remember is seeing 8 and when 5 specifically, and the Magic logo pops up. You just remember seeing that white as a ghost look on Jeff Walton's face. And they're going, we had like the second worst record in the NBA that year. But we did what we were supposed to do. And everyone knew the next year, they're going to be really bad. They're going to be bad, and they were. But it's still, are we going to get the one? A lot of people thought probably not, that it would go to Oklahoma City or someone else, maybe Detroit again. But the fact that they got it was a celebration. But it was a year where it was like, okay, who do you go with? They made the obvious choice. In hindsight, it was obvious, but I was sitting there, Mark, and I told you this on Spectrum Sports 360, Jabari Smith's the guy. I will gladly say I was dead wrong on that. And I think it would have been dead wrong for them to go with Chet. I do. They got the absolute right guy, and they have tapped into Paolo's upside, and he's been better than I think at this point in his career has been better than we all thought he would. I don't think by leaps and bounds, but just the fact that he is already a bona fide star, has surpassed all expectations. We thought it was possible, but you had no guarantees.
You talk about a 30 for 30. That draft could be a 30 for 30 because you covered it as well. For like 2 straight months, I was on the air every day asking people, who do you take with the first pick?
Yep.
Most people said Chet Holmgren. Other people said, hey, we need Jabari Smith for the shooting. I think if Holmgren went number 1, it would have been a disaster for the Magic because he misses the first year, right? He's out with injury.
Mm-hmm.
He's perfect. He went to the perfect team
yes.
of the city as the 3rd option.
Yeah.
But the Magic need a 1 option. And
yes.
I didn't look. No one thought Paolo, like you just said, no one thought Paolo would be this good.
We hoped he would be this good, this quickly. But we had no guarantees.
No idea. The only guy, our colleague, Pat Welter, who covers.
He was on it.
So he went to Raleigh, and he's a sports anchor. He used to work in Orlando with you at News 13. So he covered Duke that whole year. And he told me flat out, you better take Paolo with the first pick. He was the only guy because he knew Paolo.
Yeah.
He's the guy that said it right.
And Pat and I have joked about this. When Pat and I were both working before Orlando, we were in smaller markets, and each of us covered a 5-star guard at the high school level. And we both were like, these guys are going to be in the pros. Like the guy I covered, I thought was going to be, he was a 6'9" point guard from Macon, Georgia. I thought was going to be insane, and he could shoot, and he fizzled out. He didn't play in college. He transferred a bunch of times.
Who was it? What's the name?
The name is Kayvon Moore.
Okay. So
and he was a great high school player, but it just did not work when he got to college. And I'm not bashing the name or anything like that, bashing the kid. It just didn't stick. And Pat covered in Pennsylvania, he covered Lonnie Walker. And so Lonnie Walker, a guy who's played in the NBA, has got some run with some teams, has been a scoring option off the bench for a lot of these teams. And it was just, and that I know planted the seed in Pat's head where it's, if I find a guy that I think is really good, I'm going to ride with it. And he's 2 for 2 on it so far.
He is.
He's 2 for 2.
Okay. The guy I saw, I like this game. The guy I saw in college, Luke Hetrick, and I said, this guy is going to be a beast in the NBA. He played for Kansas State. I saw him beat the Iowa State Cyclones. His name was Michael Beasley.
Yep.
And the second pick to the Miami Heat. The Bulls got it right taking Derrick Rose. Or, see, my buddy Tim in hindsight says the Bulls should have taken Russell Westbrook with the first pick for that Tom Thibodeau team. But they took Derrick Rose, Rookie of the Year, future MVP. But I loved Michael Beasley. And he completely fizzled out in the NBA.
It was hard. I think at that point, too, we didn't have an understanding of, the significance of mental health with athletes. Or if we did, we kind of overlooked it or looked at it like it was a a sign of weakness, and I think obviously our time is, our views have changed on that. But Michael Beasley, I mean, what was his first game at Kansas State? 30-20.
Yeah.
Like he came right out of the gate. I remember he went to Fog and dropped like 39 on Kansas. He could play. But that's one of those things too. Like right player, right system. I still talk to people in NBA circles today about Jabari Smith, and they're like, if he just got to the right place, because Houston at the time he got there was not right for him. I just remember Houston was salivating for Paolo.
Yes.
The Rockets fans were all over. That's who they wanted. And it fit at the time, but he ends up fitting perfectly in Orlando. And, Jabari has made the most of his opportunities there, but I don't think it's materialized the way people thought it could have with him.
I wish he would have gone to Phoenix in the trade with Kevin Durant. I thought he was going to be part of that.
I thought you saw him make some strides under Ime Udoka. I just think with, where things were with Steven Silas at the time, it just was not great structure. But having Ime there, having Kevin Durant there, I think this is an opportunity for him to really define his role. And I think when it was a lot of moving pieces, you didn't know what you were going to get. Şengün became their most consistent player last year. But Jabari has carved out his role. I think is like a Donyell Marshall type guy, a long 3-point shooter, but is good on the defensive end as well. So
I'll just say this. So when the Magic took Jalen Suggs, everyone was so excited. We got Jalen Suggs.
Yeah.
Remember, Toronto is stupid for taking Scotty Barnes, and the Magic got him at 5. And I asked every single person, hey, what about this other guy from the Michigan? What do you think of this Franz Wagner guy? We'll see. I don't know, maybe. Well, but they were all in on Jalen Suggs. There was no hype for Franz Wagner after that. There was none.
No, I can remember this fully. I can remember this night. I wanted Jalen Suggs over Scotty Barnes, but the thought of Jalen Suggs sliding to 5 never crossed anyone's mind. It really didn't. Everyone was ecstatic when Jalen Suggs landed there. I think with Scotty Barnes, it was like that similar type player that the Magic had because they were just coming off Aaron Gordon. Very similar to Scotty Barnes, who they thought they were going to build it around. And Aaron Gordon was a good player in Orlando, but wasn't the centerpiece. And then you had Jonathan Isaac, who, again, kind of like people thought the better future Aaron Gordon, but a more consistent 3-point shooter and a better defender. And he's been injury prone throughout his entire career. So you have that, and then you're adding Scotty Barnes, and everyone's going, we just need someone that can shoot. We need to score. And Jalen Suggs could shoot the ball, and he still can shoot the ball. But it was just the fact that he's going to slide to us at 5? Really? Are you sure about that? So I think that was more the excitement. With Franz Wagner, people knew he was good, but it was still that we need shooting. So Moses Moody's there. And everyone's going, that should be our guy. That should be the guy. When they got Franz Wagner, I remember they drafted him. I looked at Philip Rossman-Reich. I was working with him that night, of Orlando Magic Daily, and I was like, Franz? Really? Franz? And I'm glad I'm wrong. I'm glad I was wrong about Paolo and Franz. Like, I will admit that. But everyone was like, okay. And then you saw it. And then you saw it. Because I think people, when you were a poor 3-point shooting team and have been since Dwight Howard left, that is what you're going to fixate on, and rightfully so. But Franz Wagner can hit a 3-point shot. The injury this year, I think, hindered him second half of the year in the playoffs, in terms of his mechanics. But Franz Wagner can do a lot of really good stuff. And that was clear at Michigan. So once you saw, okay, yeah, this guy can knock down the 3. He's not a marksman, but he can hit a 3. And he can do a lot of other things. Okay, this is good.
And the Magic go, oh, yeah, his brother's playing as well. Wait, there's a brother? What do you mean? Oh, yeah, Mo Wagner. He's showing up as well. He's even bigger.
Well, and it was because they get Mo at the deadline. They pick Mo up at the deadline the year before, the season before. And you're like, oh, this would be cool. And then you're like, how long is Mo Wagner going to be around? Because at that time, it was still, you had Mo Bamba on the team. They were giving chance after chance to truly be the starting center. Wendell's playing the 4 his first year when he's a natural center. So it just was, where's Mo Wagner fit into this? And it was, you give him the 2-year contract. okay, you ease Franz in, and then when things got to get to, but Mo Wagner's become incredibly valuable to this organization. And I mean, he's a 6th man of the year candidate before the injury. There's no doubt about it. And he's a culture piece for that organization. I know a lot of people think that gets overrun with Orlando, and it's a thing to say, and you got a young team and you're building the culture and yada yada yada. No, it's true. And Mo Wagner has an incredible impact from a toughness standpoint, from a leadership, from holding guys accountable, and just being an energy guy that gets the crowd, gets the second unit boosted. And, it is not just that he's Franz's brother and on the team. I think it is very clear and was clear to the Magic early that his role was going to be bigger than that.
Yes, let's end with this, and I appreciate coming on. We're here at Luke Hetrick does a great job there in Atlanta as an anchor and reporter. Okay, so SEC Media Days will be back in Atlanta.
Yes.
Coming up next month. All right, so my brain is like, maybe DJ Lagway's going to be there with the Gators. The problem is, I think there's going to be 10,000 journalists who are going to want to talk to DJ Lagway. Do you feel this way as well next month?
Yeah, he's become the darling. He's become the darling, and especially because people look at DJ Lagway, and you're like, if he doesn't get hurt, Georgia might lose that game to Florida. Yeah. I mean, he was playing really well, and I think it's like a Haliburton injury. I mean, I hear that so often from Gator fans. I hear it from Georgia fans too, because Georgia, was very, very good last year, but wasn't the juggernaut that they had been, 21 to 23. But Lagway's, and I'm trying to think of like who's a guy that's comparable to him, where he had a good season and it was very good, but then the hype really started to where everyone's now that Florida's going to win 9 games. Lagway is going to be the guy in the SEC because it is pretty much open. I mean, it is open in the SEC of who's that quarterback. And I know people want to talk Arch Manning. Arch Manning's only started a handful of games. Arch Manning was behind Quinn Ewers. That was probably by design for him to sit and learn, but all signs point to it could be Lagway, and I think that's a really scary place for Florida to be.
I think for the first time in a long time, the Gator fans are expecting to go to Jacksonville that first weekend in November, and they're going to bring the firepower this time to beat Georgia. I know, look, the Bulldogs, they won that SEC championship. I give them all the credit in the world. They'll probably be favored again, them in Texas. That's probably everyone's probably going to vote. But what's funny is, remember, if Lagway doesn't play last year, there is no head coaching staff. They would have fired everyone.
Yeah.
They would have won 4 games.
Lagway's probably not there.
Lagway's not there.
Yeah.
Lagway is the most important recruit at the University of Florida since Tim Tebow. I will go that route because he's, again, saved the coaching staff. And now other recruits want to play with him.
Yeah.
He's got the NIL. Everything hinges on one player. I am not kidding around. There's that much hype for Lagway. So when we go to media days, Luke, everyone's going to want to talk to this guy.
Everyone's going to want to talk to him, and the expectation that they beat Georgia is legitimate. I will say this, and it's not just because I covered Georgia. What impressed me most about the Dogs last year is, look, 21 to 23, they made it look really easy. But there were a handful of games where if someone went toe-to-toe with them during that stretch, where it was, ooh, I'm not entirely sure about this. The one time, and there was a couple times that Georgia had gotten tested, specifically in 23. But when you look in...
I heard it. Don't worry. I have the cat as well.
You have the cat? Yeah. No, she's happy. She's having a good time.
She wants to give her thoughts on the.
Oh, she's a good girl. Oh no, I mean she has to sit here and listen to me. I bounce my thoughts off her all the time. We'll talk tonight about the draft. She always has some good points. She's great about it. Like, but I'll say with Georgia, the one time where it was really dicey for them in that 3-year span was the SEC championship against Alabama, and they lost that game. Now Jalen Milroe's a really bad matchup for them, but then you look at 24. There were multiple games outside of the losses that Georgia really got tested. And you looked at that schedule and their results last year. One game outside of the bowl against Notre Dame. There was one game in the schedule where Georgia was outplayed completely, and that was Ole Miss. Outside of that, every single game was close. It came down to a lot of coaching decisions and clutch plays late in those games. Georgia was able to do that, and they could win ugly. They won ugly against Georgia Tech, against Florida. There were several other games in there that I could point to. Texas, they dominated with defense. Carson Beck throws 3 picks that game, and they still win by 2 scores. So Georgia knows how to win ugly. I think that was an early sign of success under Kirby Smart. Having that team do it last year just shows that he's the best coach in America. And I still stand by that. So thinking that you, as a Florida fan, I'll just caution you on this, and you have every right to be optimistic, but thinking you're going to go down and beat Georgia just because DJ Lagway's there, their roster has gotten better, and there's some uncertainty of where's Georgia's production going to come from, does not guarantee success, because that visor over on the other sideline is a mastermind.
See, you know what's interesting is we're expanding the playoff, right?
Yeah.
Got to get more teams, more. But for an SEC fan, you still have your bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go beat that team. I got to win the conference, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Those still matter. That's what I like. All right, what is your what are you doing tonight for draft coverage with the NBA, buddy?
I will be down at State Farm Arena taking that in. We will have our team down there. You can follow us, WSB-TV. Channel 2 Action News. It's going to be a good night. We'll see what the Hawks do. We'll see what the Magic do, because as a 5-year Orlando resident, and don't tell Hawks fans, a Magic fan, I will be locked in to see what happens at 25.
Luke Hetrick, my man, thank you so much for your help, and I hope I can get you on again, all right?
$5 Tito's coming in soon.